Good evening. What you are about to hear is a veritable meeting of minds. Some of the ideas discussed may present as challenging for some. However, we feel those joining us will find themselves somewhat enlightened by the experience. We welcome you to indulge yourself in a conversation with gentlemen.
One of those weird ear tickles that just makes your entire fucking spine shiver.
Yeah, they suck.
Oh, Jesus.
How are you today, Patrick?
I've yet to find out.
I'm fine, actually. I went for a bit of a skate earlier.
A skate?
Yeah. So what happened was, I had to get my car towed because my car broke. So I went to my car and I had roller skates in there. So I decided it would be a good idea, since I had to walk over to my car, maybe I'll skate home. And about halfway through this skate, I busted my ass in the middle of the street.
You're a full-grown man, Vin. You can't do that.
I know.
Not in public.
That was 30 years and like 260 pounds just hitting the pavement. It was fucking horrendous. And the best part was that there was a car trying to turn onto the block, and I wasn't even looking at traffic. I just ate shit.
Oh no, they saw you.
Right into that intersection. Yeah, I was fully visible.
You're someone's daily story now.
Oh, yeah, well, happy to help. But,
okay.
So that's how I started my day. Today. This day.
You rollerbladed from your car.
Back.
How far is your home from your car?
It's about a 10-minute walk. So
10-minute fucking walk?
10-minute walk. Which is probably about like a 5-minute rollerblade.
I feel like you didn't even finish your drive home at that point if you gotta walk 10 minutes to get to your house. That's like where the bus drops you off.
No, the car was in front of my sister's house because on Father's Day, I had drove it to my sister's house to participate in family activities. And then when I went to start the car, it said, nah. So.
Wait, okay. So you had to get your car towed.
I did.
Before the truck got there to tow the car, you remembered that you had rollerblades in your car.
Right.
As a second means of transportation.
I got real excited to use the rollerblades. I just want to put that in there. I was very happy. I was like, yeah, man. I was just super jazzed about it. Like, you hit the streets on my inlines. Blade gang. Hashtag Blade gang.
At this point, I'm just a little bit more impressed on the fact that you keep a secondary form of transportation in your car, your main source of transportation, just in case anything does happen to your main source. You can go ahead and shoot out those little escape pod skates and finish up whatever trek that you started.
Got to. I mean, what are you going to do if your car breaks down? And you need to get to the quick check.
You roller skate over there, of course.
Of course, naturally.
Of course. Unless you bust your ass.
Well, even when you do, I mean, what happens when you fall down, Pat?
I stay down.
See?
I don't get back up. I don't move.
It's no way to
I
live.
act like I've died. So when people start laughing, it becomes genuine concern.
I wanted to die of shame. Is what I wanted to do. I fucking beefed it.
I don't like those fucking means of transportation. I can deal with a bicycle. Can't deal with roller skates. Can't deal with skateboards. Tried it. Like when me and some friends that we know, like Josh and everybody, went down to Sea Isle one time to the beach houses, and they were like, "Oh, dude, like basically you just rent a house down there and you just chill out next to the beach and the shore and the boardwalk all day." But they were like, hey, let's all skateboard around this town.
It's never a good suggestion for a group of people, no matter the age.
Well, no, I mean, we were definitely, like, on the verge of starting a whole new, like, skateboarding gang, or whatever people do.
Oh, y'all guys were the new wave of skateboarding in South Jersey? In southern New Jersey?
Yeah, new wave, a whole new wave. And it didn't, the whole gang encompassed, like, it was, everybody included in this gang was, like, 4 people who knew how to skateboard, and 1 guy who didn't. And after talking with them for a good amount of time to figure out who would be the guy who didn't know how to skateboard, it turned out to be me. So, yeah, they were all like, let's go. And they were like super into it because there was like a skateboard shop down there. And they were like, I'm going to go get new like bearings for my wheels and all this other, some trucks and stuff. And I'm like, word, does anybody have a skateboard I can borrow if this is going down? And they were like, yeah, man, you know, like every time you have like a spare anything for like a friend to use, it's like the garbage one that's been left in the corner for fucking like 8 years.
Right.
And no one's touched it. Well, they pointed that thing out to me and I was like, all right, cool. I'll take this guy. So they skated to the skate shop and I wasn't sure if I needed to upgrade any of the equipment on this little skateboard. So I carried it to the skate shop, walking behind them.
What a fucking poser.
That's me, baby. That's me. I wasn't even like, this is the fun, like, if you want to call me a poser for hanging out with a whole bunch of people that know what they're doing, but I don't, I'm not going to pretend like I do. But I wasn't sure if, you know, the skateboard I had needed any upgrades either. So I'm walking with them. I'm like, you tell me what I need so I can put it on this thing. Do I need to switch out the wheels on this guy? Do I need to get those, you know, how do I get this thing to swivel more so I can turn quicker and stuff like that? Like,
did you get the Hemi tuned up?
Yeah, man. You know, you go in there, get an oil change. Got the wheels rotated. Got
to change the air filter.
Got to put the alternator back in there. There was a lot of starter issues. I hadn't been started in a while. I was talking to the skateboard shop guy, and I'm like holding out this skateboard. I'm like, you tell me what I need to be able to ride this thing. And he kind of like looked at me and shrugged his shoulders. And I'm like, dude, you just got to do what you do. And I'm like, you're absolutely right. I will.
I would have said, what does that even mean? You just gave me some fucking stoner, like what you think is like sage advice for me to ride this skateboard. I could break every joint in my lower half and my upper half.
I was completely ready to accept the fact that if this guy told me, like, hey, bud, if it's your first time riding, just lay down on your belly on it and do the swim thing. Like, that's your best bet. And I would have been like, if that's how I gotta start, then that's how I start. Is that how everybody starts? You have to tell me if that's how everybody starts. Because I can't go out there and be a fucking fool. So everybody, all the dudes get their upgrades done to their board. I walk out with the exact same board that was given to me. No changes, no upgrades. I feel a little bit bad about it. I want cool stuff. Even if I don't know how to fucking use it, I want cool shit. So we go out and they're like, they do the thing where they're like, you know what? Pop, everybody round up, let's ride. And they fucking throw their skateboards down and they jump on it all cool and they start around the block. I put mine on the ground and I put my foot on it and I spend like too much time trying to figure out which foot's supposed to be the pushing foot. And finally I kind of get going. We start around the block. I have yet to actually stand on the skateboard to the point where I'm like gliding on it. I've just been literally pushing myself with my foot the entire way around this block, so I'm extremely tired by the time we hit like the first couple of corners. These guys are gliding, like going.
Professional as fuck.
Yeah, these guys can do like half pipes and
like Marty McFly type shit.
Yeah, and like they can do those things where you like drift and stuff, where you get that quick, like power awesome stuff.
Yeah, that shit's badass.
And every time I turn, I lean to one side enough to get the momentum going, and then I don't feel like I'm turning enough, so I get off the board and kind of just swivel it to the direction I want and get back on and start going again. So that's how productive. I skateboard. Yeah, that's how I skateboard. I was exhausted by the time we got halfway through this one block. My legs were tired. They were becoming noodleish. I was out of breath. This is when I smoked a lot of cigarettes. And
at the tender age of 15.
Yeah, and now this is Sea Isle during like summer break, so there's just like people everywhere. You know, there's kids that also know how to skateboard that you don't know. There's families on their balcony. There's women you want to impress. And at a certain point in time, and this is the messed up part, because nobody in my group told me that you can't run over small pebbles on a skateboard.
Yeah, that's like the
no
downfall.
one gave me that information, like, yo, spend a lot of time looking at the ground, because if you run over the smallest rock, you will fly 20 feet.
And slide another 10.
Yeah. So, all in all, as I'm going through and we hit this little piece of a sidewalk, and they're all kind of from me, I feel like I'm keeping up all right on this stretch. I do hit one of these small rocks, and the rock, I hear it underneath the wheel, and it's scraping, and then this board stops, and I keep going forward, and it's one of those things where it's like I fall in a way that is not like I fall on my side or I just fall down. Like, my hands go out like to the side, and I kind of do one of those dolphin leaps, like off to the side, and just land completely on my shoulder and like the half of my body. And all I hear, because everybody I'm with, my group of people, they heard that rock underneath that board before I fell. They had to have. Like, it was just like... But they kept going. And they didn't fucking look back. So as I hit the pavement in slow, embarrassing motion, all I hear from above me on a balcony is... And then, like, you know how you get so embarrassed your body gets hot?
Oh yeah, I felt it earlier.
Yeah, that I broke out into an embarrassing sweat, and I just laid there. I laid there for what I felt was like 15 minutes, but it was probably like 2 seconds. And I called out for like Josh. Like, I didn't move.
I thought you were gonna say I called out for Jesus.
Well, he was the closest dude I knew that like knew how to skateboard at the time, and I was just like, Josh, but I didn't like move, and like after doing, I can only imagine what, because I'm not exaggerating. I did call out for a friend. Like, that happened.
Like Saving
it's not
Private Ryan.
Anywhere. I need you to understand that there is very little lies in the story I'm telling you. This is like 99%, when like 100% true. All these things happened. So I call out, and I'm not moving. I'm just laying there, because that's my natural way to handle the situation. If anyone's going to laugh at me, they're going to laugh at me, and it's going to take just long enough for them to laugh, and they're like, oh, he might actually be hurt. Like,
Josh, tell me what happened to my body.
Josh. Josh does end up coming back around, I guess, after realizing that I had been missing for quite some time. It's probably like fucking like 20 seconds, but he turns around, he comes back, and he sees me, and he's like, dude, you okay? And I'm like, yo, you have to take this skateboard. Like, don't even help me up, don't do nothing, just get this skateboard, and you skate away with the skateboard. I'm gonna be here. Can you bring me a bicycle?
Is that what you asked him? Can you
I did. I was like, I literally looked at him in the most honest way. I caught eyes with this man, and I was just like, I'd much rather ride a bicycle. Can you bring me a bicycle? He was like, dude, we don't have a bike here. And I'm like, we gotta find one. Because if I'm gonna hang out with you guys, it's gonna be on bicycle. Yeah. Like, if y'all guys are gonna be X-gaming it around like the block over here looking all fucking cool, I'd rather be the guy who's just cruising behind. I can do stuff on a bike. Right. I can bunny hop.
Yeah.
I can do some wheelies.
I'm going to be on 2 wheels, and if I'm going to be on 4 wheels, it's going to have a motor attached.
It's going to have a straight up, I'm going to be on a doom buggy chasing you guys down. This is going to look like a Hollywood movie. But he was like, no, there's no bicycle. We can't get one, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right, dude, I will meet y'all guys at, like, the house in a little while when you guys are done. I can't do this anymore. And that was my X Games story. That's what happened to me.
2 things. I think it would have been way better if you ended that story with you and Josh standing banana boat style on one skateboard and just holding on to each other. That would be the most beautiful thing I
would
can
just
imagine.
be riding bitch on the back of his skateboard at the end of the day, just holding onto his hips as he skated around.
Also, I want to point out that it is very likely, at least in my imagination, that the skateboard shop owner that gave you that sage, wise advice is very likely a person that someone told in a conversation one day, like, hey, man, you know, surfing is the whole reason for skateboarding? And he was just like, I got it. Gotta figure it out.
I nailed it.
I'm going to open a shop.
You just hit the fucking button, dude.
And that's when you went in there and he was like, no, dude, just lay down on your belly and then just pop up. You got to pop up. Doing too much.
That's
do
what
less.
he should have told me. I would have been much safer. That's what he should have told me. He shouldn't have been like, oh, man, you just got to kind of do what you do. Like, just, you know, it's about balance. Like, whatever.
Do what you
like,
do.
duh. I've seen it. I know what it looks like. You don't got to tell me that, but I would like some... at a certain point, like, I wasn't old enough. If that happened to me now, I'm pretty sure I would have gone into the shop with this random... I think, number one, I wouldn't have fucking rode a skateboard, because fuck those things. But if it came down to, like, a scenario where I had to, and I was who I am now, I would have walked into that shop. I would have fucking yoked up one of the fucking employees, like, in the back somewhere, or away from the people that I knew, and been like, listen here, you fucking motherfucker. I have to do this. I don't fucking want to, but I have to. For my friends. So you're going to spend the next fucking 5 minutes while they upgrade their shit to level fucking 30 over there? You're gonna fucking show me how to fucking glide on this goddamn piece of wood.
Listen, while
like
my boys are over there applying their stats to their fucking Tony Hawk creation,
all their accumulated points that they've earned
you will
through
teach
their
me
stay.
to balance.
You're gonna fucking show me how to stand on this fucking 2x4 and look halfway fucking decent.
Oh,
because I don't have the fucking time to be embarrassed. Not today.
Not any day.
Because if you don't, or you say you can't, in all honesty, I will come back here in about 3 minutes and buy a goddamn bicycle. And if all you got is a fucking big wheel, a plastic wheeled big wheel, I'll ride that motherfucker. People will come, like, hear me coming from a mile away and goes, there goes that fucking old piece of shit with enough confidence to ride a goddamn big wheel. And that's who I'll be. But if you gotta be honest with me and be straight up and tell me if I can or if I can't fucking use this wood with wheels.
You left out the part where you walk in 3 minutes later asking for a bicycle with a heavily bruised shoulder.
Exactly. throwing the skateboard into the door first.
Just winging that shit helicopter style.
Let it land like on its wheels inside the shop, and then just like walk in slowly, and when it stops and everyone's still asking questions, just put my foot on it and went, nailed it.
Threw that shit before I walked in the room.
That's what they call a fucking ollie, right? No? Well, that's because you never fucking taught me how to do it.
Dad.
Where were you?
Oh, fuck me. I learned it from you, Dad. Fuck.
They hung me out to dry, dude. Fuck those guys.
They did. They sold you down the river. They let you get embarrassed in front of all the ladies that were on the balcony and shit like that, and all the muscly dudes with no shirts on that were laughing at you.
That was the calm entrance into that trip, too, because that trip ended with us seeing, like, 2 cops freebasing in a parking lot, like,
Nice.
people getting into fistfights in a 7-Eleven.
Nice.
It got fucking wild.
I know. I remember
That's
you
actually,
invited
me and
down
Josh wrote, like, 3 Deception Theory songs during that trip. We brought, like, the little portable little Marshall amps and, like, our guitars with us. It was pretty funny.
there. I remember. Yeah, I think you invited me on that trip. I wasn't able to go though because I was fucking broke, spending all my money on weed and just playing the drums.
Yeah, you could have witnessed this all firsthand.
I could have.
You could have been on your rollerblades.
And I could have been eating shit with you, right next to you. We would have both been
I
calm,
needed
reaching
that.
out for
No
Josh.
one else was.
Oh, God, please.
No one else was willing to. No one else was willing to fall with me. Everybody else had to be all cool and look like they knew what they were fucking doing. You know what? That just goes to show what kind of friend I was, because I would have turned around and then I would have fell next to my friend. But like, I would have met you. I would have met your face with my face. Like, you know how the cool, like, Big Brother guy from, like, the movies falls, and then they, like, just, they're head to head, and he's like, hey, bud, fell down, huh? It's all good.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't
much.
have that fucking mentor fucking person with me that day. It would have been great if that guy was the skateboard shop guy, though. If he just ended up there. Hey, bud, fell down, huh?
See?
Did you do the belly thing I told you about?
Because you're not doing what you do.
Yep. Do that thing you do. That's
Hey.
the new Tom Hanks movie he's coming out with. It's not going to be like a band. It's just going to be it's going to be a guy who just doesn't know how to fucking skateboard or roller skate.
Yeah, it's a harrowing tale of a young man who walks into a skateboard shop and is given some helpful advice.
I had no idea that movie was supposed to be about the drummer.
That movie is
Who
like
can't play.
part of the reason that I play the drums.
Really?
For real.
Dude, I was surprised at how much Tom Hanks wrote, like how much of the music he wrote in that fucking film. It was actually pretty impressive. But yeah, I had no idea that movie was actually about actually about the drummer who got hurt and couldn't play the tour. So it was just some no-name guy who came in and just like he got his life just straight up changed.
Yeah. Because he would just jam out in the back of the store. And then fucking their regular drummer was like, his shit was weak. And then this guy came in and and just changed the game. What are you looking at when I said you?
I didn't. I'm going to.
Oh, I thought you were dumbfounded.
Oh, that's me and the skateboard man.
Yeah, just
If he had shown up, number one, that doesn't look like anybody's hand. That looks like a third person's hand.
It's my hand.
From the way that image is cut off. It just looks like there's a third person between two friends who fell asleep together.
For those curious, I sent Pat
No,
GIF
I'll
or
paint
GIF.
I'll paint an image of
Okay,
this.
Pat. Look, Pat's gonna tell you.
Two men from either Minnesota. So you can imagine the Caucasian,
The northwestern states. Definitely
Northwestern, yeah, Northwestern, Caucasian, middle heavy set. Both have the the regular beards that most people with weak chins have. Are laying on the bed. It's just their heads, and they're sharing one pillow, and their noses are touching. It doesn't look like anything romantic. It just looks like that's where they fell. And then there's just a hand really getting into the fibers of one of these guys' beard,
It's
like
a
thumb and
heavy
index
tussle.
finger.
That's
That's
a
a heavy
heavy-duty
tussle.
tussle.
But the image is cut off in a way where the hand is coming straight up the middle of the bottom of the image. So it doesn't look like it belongs to anybody else in the picture. It could
It's
be
a third
anybody's
party.
hand.
Third party hand.
It's a third-party hand, which, might I add, Vin, this is something that if I ever saw any of my friends pass out with, it's something I would do. I would definitely be playing with one of y'all guys' fucking beard while you're sleeping that close together, because I know that if you wake up because of the fact that I'm tussling this beard so hard, that you would immediately think it's the guys whose nose is just right on your nose, and there would be a fist fight.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised nobody woke up like that the night that we had that banger at my house after the show.
Oh, man.
When I had like 15 people sleep over.
There was so many people in one room.
The greatest fucking thing I've ever seen was I don't know if I should say his name. I'm not gonna drop his last name, but Jeremy was there, and he passed out holding a beer, doing essentially like a back bend over a fucking Ottoman. A fucking giant footstool. This guy's laying on it, just his back. All his limbs are like folded backward, and he's passed the fuck out, holding this beer perfectly upright and still. It was miraculous.
He did magical things when he passed out.
It was great.
That I will say this though, the only reason like stuff like this didn't happen is because I feel like most of us were trained since early teenagehood on how to sleep in a room with fucking like 40 people.
Well, you could fucking literally curl up anywhere. You are a human cat.
Well, again, I trained myself from a
shit.
young age. Here's the thing, man. I'm going to let you in on a little secret about good old Pat here. It's not even a secret. I just don't tell many people this. When I was younger, I used to sleep anywhere but my bed. And I'm not the biggest, I'm not the largest physical being in the world. And especially as a child, I wasn't. So basically, I would do things like fall asleep in my toy box and stuff. And find different I fell asleep in corners and random places, so my mom would come in as a kid, when I was a kid, and not know where I was, and she told me she would I would freak out because you wouldn't be anywhere in the house, and it was only after you had begun this habit, it took me 2 weeks to realize that you were just passing out in random places. So I'd have to hunt around the house to try to find you. She was your favorite place was, we had this gigantic plastic toy box for you. You would empty it out, climb inside, close the lid, and that's where you would pass out. And so she was I knew when I came in the morning to wake you up that I had to go open up this chest to find my child.
You were like a goddamn vampire sleeping in a fucking coffin, just rising out like fucking Dracula.
But it would be amazing
Dracula
if I
baby.
just straight up just arms crossed around my chest and just lift it up when you open the door. My bad. But that followed, those habits followed me through elementary school and all this other stuff, because even in high school, dude, when you had homeroom, which was the nothing class where they just took attendance and you just sat there, in homeroom, what I would do is if I was tired, we had this weird science sink thing in the room.
Okay.
It was a little desk built into the wall kind of thing.
Okay.
And what I would do is I would get into the classroom, I would throw my shit on my desk, and then I would just climb underneath this little cubby thing and take naps when I was tired at school. And the homeroom teacher, again, it took her a little bit of time to figure out, because she was oh, I see your stuff, Pat, where are you? And one of the kids would be dude, he is underneath that sink thing over there, just passed out.
Yep.
And so she would knock and wake me up, and she's dude, what the hell are you doing? Go to your chair. And I'm I'd much rather just chill. It's fucking homeroom. Leave me the fuck alone. You really don't have to do. You see that I'm here. There's no purpose for this class other than holding kids hostage for a little bit before we go off and continue our learning. So just let me fucking be. Me and that teacher ended up being good friends by the end of stuff, but she was fucking.
This is when you were down there in the fucking Pine Barrens, right?
The high school one was in Jersey. Yeah, that was in South Jersey. But these habits had started from Texas and on. And
oh no, I know. One of my favorite things about Drunk Pat back in the day, back in the good old 20-aughts, was that when you would get drunk, you would literally just fucking sneak off fuck everyone at this party. I'm going away now, and I'll be back when I'm back. And that was something that I needed to learn about being friends with guys like you and Josh, because you both act that way. You'll just be all right, I've had enough of this, and you won't announce it to anybody. It's you've perfected the fucking Irish goodbye, and then you would just dip. And then people would call you, you'd be like, nah, man, I'm over here. Like, you didn't know? Like,
Well, no, I think, yeah, it was one of those things where that's one of the funny things about Josh and I, because Josh and I were so alike that we fucking hated each other at first.
yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, but the one thing is that we kind of, a lot of people had to learn about that personality trait was if we got too fucked up and stuff became like either annoying or too overwhelming, you don't feel like you have to make an excuse to step away from it, so you just go.
Right. Exactly.
Because that's nobody's business.
Yeah, and that was something that I learned to appreciate. At first, I was like, what is going on here? And then I was like, oh, I fucking get it, man. They were just over it. They're just done. They don't gotta tell nobody. They're just done. That's it. I'm done now. Bye.
And
it's fantastic.
the funny part is I wish more people had that in them. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, dude, I wouldn't blame anybody. Like, you don't have to force yourself to be around me if you're fucked up, especially if you're drunk. Like, I've watched people be really drunk, and I'm like, these people are on the brink of just straight blacking out or throwing up, and they have yet to excuse themselves from the situation because they feel like they're still on that plane of like, I need the social acceptance to the like the limit I can get it right before I fuck up everything I've worked for by doing something embarrassing.
I feel like it depends on who you're talking about, because if it's a dude, I feel like it's that coupled with like, mama didn't raise no bitch. I'm not leaving the party early. Like,
yeah, but the funny part is when you're that messed up, like the whole like, oh man, I ain't no bitch, I can handle this. In your brain, sure. Physically, with everyone looking at you, no.
Yeah.
You've already you've gone too far, kind of thing.
You
so
gotta
like,
tap.
Yeah,
your face is turning blue, and you are gonna die if you don't tap out of this one.
dude. They're like, as soon as somebody looks at you and goes, "You want some water, dude?" You're like, I don't fucking need no fucking water.
Yep.
It's like, bro, at that point, you need to like, they're basically nicely telling you like, please stop before you ruin something inside of my house. Like, it's
comparable to somebody having like stank ass breath and a nice person walking up and be like, hey man, you want some of this gum? It's super powerful.
It's super good gum.
It's really good for you and everyone else.
But I will say that, like we said in another fucking episode, you win like 98% of the time. No one wins 100% of the time.
Right.
So, like, even my timing on exits wasn't always perfect. When I was in Staten Island at the house with Drew and all them, when we were having that big house party, and we were playing Kings. The Kings. That was the moo day, where one of the rules was you had to yell moo before taking a drink.
Yeah, and then somebody made the rule that you couldn't speak English, so the game just devolved into gibberish, and then somebody
drunken
would
gibberish and cow sounds.
And then speak English, and then fucking everyone would have to scream moo and take the little man off their beer and then drink, and then everyone would fuck that up, so we'd all have to drink again. God, shit got ugly at that party.
It got serious, and I went through I think that's one of the nights that I pretty much went through an entire 30-pack by myself. And
yeah, and you housed a bottle of vodka before any of us showed up.
Yeah,
this was one of those nights that there was like strange women around. Drew used to have
was a lot.
These,
dude,
ex strippers show up and shit like that.
Yeah, a whole bunch of stuff was going on there, and that was also the night that like I tried to get out of it, but like inside that house there was 3 sets of stairs, and my timing got fucked up. So I'm like, all right, dude, I'm out. I'm just going to go to my room. And I didn't tell anybody. I just started walking. And there, like, you had to get up one thing from the kitchen. You had to go up 1 flight of stairs. Now you're in the living room.
Right.
And then you go from the living room up another flight of stairs. And you're at the first floor bedrooms. And then, like, you had to go up another small thing of stairs to get to my room. And I got from the living room. I got from the kitchen into the living room, and I started walking around onto the staircase to go up towards the bedroom, and I exploded. And all the stuff inside of me came out right onto the staircase and onto the floor, which is a giant house party, so there's like 6 people sitting in the living room that just saw me upchuck everything.
Yeah, ripping huge bong hits.
Just sitting on the couch, just looking at me, and I was like, I looked at them, and like in a very like just whatever. I went and just got a shop vac, and I'm like, whatever, dude, I got it. And I just shop vacked up everything, and then just went to bed. So the next morning after that is when Drew woke up, and I woke up, and we're like, oh, dude, what the fuck? What the fuck is that smell? What is this? What's going on right now? And we had to rebuild the night, so to speak, from the next morning.
So when you start pulling out like the yarn and the fucking push pins and pinning up photos and
yeah,
doing all
and
that shit.
we get everything together, and I'm like, oh yeah, dude, I I vacuumed up my puke last night into the shop vac. We have to get that emptied, like, immediately. And he goes, oh no. And I'm like, what? He was like, another dude we had lived with another dude who was in the house at the time was trying to clean, and he's like, he's using the fucking shop vac. And the guy who was like trying to clean the house the next morning was also hungover and all this other stuff, so he's going through with this shop vac that's already full of the sick. And like vacuuming up everything that's like in the ashtrays, like just indiscriminately, just like
the shop vac.
Yeah, so the shop vac is literally sucking up everything in the house. And it gets to the point where, like, literally what ends up happening is we run down, we see him, and he's just standing on top of the shop vac, like, dude, I think it's fucking broken. I think it's fucking broken. Like, the thing, like, fucking backlogged and, like, broke. And we're like, oh, no. So we fucking grab this shop vac, run it outside, and just try to, like, fill it with water and, like, unload it. And when I tell you that the fucking block smelt like the afterworks of that fucking party, I kid you not. It was toxic. I'm pretty sure there would have been a visible fucking mist of all the nasty shit that had gone down in that house that night.
Like if there was a scent map, you guys would be seen from space.
Dude, yeah. And no, it wasn't that night, but yeah, the same. We would have those house parties, and that was when I got locked into my own bathroom with some coked up Asian chick who was... who tried literally the strangest pickup stuff with me, and to the point where, Vinny, you know how I feel.
Yes,
about I know my little pokeballs.
Yeah, I know.
And
Asian
she was not
women are
a
your
bad
weakness.
looking girl either, Vin. And when I tell you that she made me so uncomfortable by her means of trying, that I felt like what you envision workplace sexual harassment to look like.
You were a 1950s secretary? Like, no.
Yeah, I was. And because she was like, I was like, I have to go to the bathroom. I announced it. I was like, I'll be back. So I go up to the bathroom, and the bathroom has two doors. One from the bedroom and one from the hallway. And I walk in one door, and I shut the door, and, like, you know how as a dude, when you go to the bathroom in your house or whatever, like, right. It's like shut door, pull pants, go piss. It's a 3-step process.
Right.
You got to do what you got to do as far as like getting in and beginning your whole reason for being there.
Right.
So I shut the door. In my mind, it's step 2. Get ready to pull down those pants. And as soon as step 2 begins, door number 2 opens. She's in, door shuts. And I'm like, that's too many doors. So I look up, and like she's there, and she's like, oh, nice. And then she starts going over like the items on the sink. And I'm like, do you need me out? And like she's like, no, don't you think like this soap smell, like she's picking up things and like presenting them to me, like, don't you think this soap smells nice? Like orange is nice, right? And I'm like, bro,
that's like some creepy like serial killer shit.
Some creep. I'm like, number one, this is another dude brought her in, and it's like, guy code, if another dude brings you in here,
right,
we got to have a full series of conversations, and I got to sign paperwork before any of this goes down.
Documents. I got to make some phone calls.
There's a whole bunch. My lawyer has to talk to his lawyer,
right?
And we got to get an actual like signed, stamped, and pressed. Like whole letterhead needs to be done before
notary, all that shit.
Exactly. And as a woman, I don't expect you to understand that, but I was like, you need, like, I think this is probably, no, it's not the first, but it was probably one of the biggest, like, you need to get the fuck out of here. And she just wouldn't understand, but she was like, just coked out of her mind. And like started just going through all the stuff, and she was doing the things where she's going through all the items and moving closer to me. My bladder is filling up with piss.
Fear piss.
I am becoming enraged.
It is the piss of pure fear and rage.
This is the just pure, like, oh my god, this is like, number one, even if somebody was going to force themselves upon me right now, not a good time. This is a legit pee time.
Yeah.
Like, this is legit pee time. You're going to get
emergency.
golden showered on all day if you stay in this fucking room. And even if I had accepted your invitation, but I'm not.
Drip, drip,
You
drip.
need to get the fuck. And it becomes like a begging thing. It was like, please. Please leave. So, and we can go through and finish this conversation later on. So finally, I'm like, you know what, dude? Like, I push open the door. I grab this woman and whatever else she had holding in her hands, like a soap dispenser and stuff at the time, and I push her out of the room. I piss. I wash up. I get out. I walk out to the living room. I find the dude who brought this girl, and now it's his fault. So I go in and I'm like, you and your fucking chick that you brought over here need to get the fuck out of my house. And he was like, wait, what? And I'm like, get the fuck out. So I run into him, like, I think like a week and a half later, and he was like, dude, what the fuck? Like, why would you do, like, I thought we were cool. And I'm like, dude, to be honest with you, it's not even your fault. I'm like, how did you know that chick? And he's like, oh, I brought her from one of the strip clubs. I didn't really know her. I just picked her up and told her we were going to a party.
Wild, man.
And I was like, you never do that again. You never do that again. I'm like,
you had to have a sit down
here's
with
the
him.
fucked up thing. I told him, I was like, listen, at least spend like a couple of hours beforehand with them not doing coke before you come. Like, actually get to know them first.
Right.
And he's like, it became one of those things where you're like, I don't understand what the problem is, dude. And I had to break down and be like, I was going to be raped. Like, you can't. My life was in danger, bro. Like, I was scared.
I was going to be raped.
Raped. Like, you brought a sexual predator into my house, and I will not stand for it again. Like, we need to seriously vent out, like, some of the fucking people we're bringing into this fucking house.
Yeah, that was a scary time in your life, Pat. I'm sorry I laughed at you about it.
That was a scary moment.
It was.
Those years were 90% those moments for me.
I know. Imagine how it was on my end being a witness to, like, half of that shit. It was beautiful. It's like poetry in motion.
And the funny thing is, like, I'm married now, and my wife had a fucking wild streak too. But like, I am super calmed down. Like,
can I tell a story? Can I tell my favorite story about your wife, Pat?
Yes, you may.
When I met Pat's wife, well, this is I was still kind of like acquaintances with her. She was at a show of ours that we played at a local bar here in Staten Island. And she, well, I'm not going to tiptoe here. She was tying one on that night, as she normally does. And I had beads around my neck that had a shot glass hanging from the end. So she was sitting on top of like a booth thing with her homegirl. And she calls me over, and I come over, and she grabs the shot glass and spits a fucking loogie in it, and then just smiles at me. And I was like, cool, man. And then I walked away. And that is my favorite story that I have about Pat's wife.
Yep.
She's a beauty.
You know what the problem with that is? Is that isn't the first time we've been around somebody who spat a loogie into something that didn't need a loogie in it. I don't know if you were with me and Josh when we were with Steve, and we were just like, I don't think you were. I think it was somebody else. It might have been Jeremy that was there with that. But we were sitting around with Steve, and everybody had smoked and drank or whatever, and we're just sitting in like the driveway of Josh's house, and we're all just kind of having a conversation. like literally having like one of those deep like drunk conversations, like deep fucked up conversations about nothing.
Right.
Like black holes, man. Like, you know, the hole isn't even where like the black hole is and like the stars.
Right. Bunch of dumb smart motherfuckers.
Yeah, dumb smart. And in the middle of this like existential fucking conversation or whatever, Steve just kind of like, he's wearing a fucking hoodie at the time. Now, mind you, Steve is the dude who went on like a 3-week salvia bender. Like,
Steve's
he's that
another
kind of
fucking beauty, man. The world needs more people like him. He's a fucking cartoon character. Love that
But
guy.
like in the middle of this conversation, he's wearing a hoodie and he does this move that I'm sure in his mind was super subtle, but like it brought everyone's attention to his hands when he like opened up his hoodie and opened up his hoodie pocket and just like in the middle of like, yeah, man, it's crazy, and just spits a loogie directly into his pocket. So I don't know if anybody else in the world has been around people who do that more than once, but I have.
Oh my goodness. That's so fucking funny.
No, but what I was gonna say is, like, Chris, he has a bit of a wild streak to her, and I have calmed down so much. Like, by the time I had met her, I was working production, doing all this other stuff. Like my daily routine, I think when I met her was like I would work at the production company. I would come home at like 3 or 4 in the morning.
Yeah, after
and
9
I would
rum
just
and
go
Cokes.
straight out to like the same thing anybody would do after they get off work. Usually you go, you have a meal, you have a couple of drinks, and then, you know, try to just unwind from the day. So I would go out and, you know,
That shit
3 in
that
the
cops do after their shift. They go to the
well,
bar.
I hung out with so many of them. Yeah. Let me tell you how many cops I drank with. But I would go out to the bar like at 3 o'clock in the morning. There was a couple down the street from my house, and I would just go there. They all knew me. They would stay open to like fucking 5 in the morning anyway, with like the doors closed.
Yeah,
like
lock-in
it would
style.
just be like that little local bunch that you just stay there and drink and whatever.
I've been
But
to
I
a
had
few of
calmed down. I
those.
wasn't like
That shit was
partying.
fun. Yeah.
But yeah, and then like one day I think she was telling me like some story about how crazy her stuff, like her history was and all this other stuff, and I'm looking at her and I'm just like, you think I'm boring? And she was like, yeah, man, you haven't like really done anything. And I'm like, wow, if you only knew,
Yeah.
like the shit I had gotten up to. Like every once in a while I try to explain, I'm like, you do understand that my life was a fucking like straight up like circus of shit for a very long, like for a very, at a certain point, like I lived in a trap house with like 18 people and like strippers and like fucking everything. Like,
Yeah, and you had a place where you made a wall out of Yingling cans.
I did. I made dude. Yeah, that was in South Jersey, dude. But before I
Brushing
moved
your
up
teeth with that
to
shit.
Staten Island, yeah, I like literally like one of the places I had stayed for a while was just this house full of like everybody, like
to you like
everybody
this-
you can think of.
It was nicknamed the Death Star.
The Death Star. It was the Death Star.
That's really all that needs to be said about it.
Yeah.
That's
That is
the ability
literally
to
all that
destroy
needs
planets.
to be said about it. Yeah, that's where that's where the highway shroom thing happened. That's where some dude, like, I know one dude like fired like a Roman candle into his neighbor, like the neighbor's yard over there, and everybody in the house freaked out thinking the FBI was gonna come, so they all just ran fucking like 6 miles into the woods and stayed there for like 3 hours before we got back to the house and stuff. Like it was a crazy group of people. And the funny thing is, when I ended up in Staten Island, the people I had moved to Staten Island with was like members of that house. So like that party kind of thing just kind of transferred over.
Yeah,
into
you
Staten
split
Island.
into like chapters. This is a
Yeah.
fucking Staten Island chapter of the Death Star.
Oh, dude, it was. But yeah, dude, life got fucking nuts. And then, you know, we're doing music and doing all this other shit and hanging out and all this crap. And I will say I am super thankful that I didn't end up like super hard on drugs or some shit.
Yeah, like on a fucking Behind the Music or something like that.
Oh,
Hell yeah, man.
dude.
I mean, that's one good thing I can honestly say about myself. Like, you know, I'm a pothead, but that's like a choice that I make. But
That's perfectly fine.
I've experimented with so much shit. I've done a whole bunch of shit in my life, and none of it was ever as appealing as anything else where I was like, gotta have it.
Yeah.
You know, I like smoking weed, man. Chills me out.
That's why I stopped drinking as much as I dude, there was certain times, like, dude, even at, like, the Death Star and stuff, like, when I literally was eating, like, Fruit Loops full of vodka with fucking, like, people, and, like, bro, when I tell you, like, I am worn out on, like, a majority of alcohol now, that, like, you knew me when, like, if you were with me during the fucking long stint of, like, if you went to a bar with Pat, he was going to literally start his night with, like, three Wiseman and just progress. And, like, Pat's favorite game was, if you're in the bar with him, the main thing that's going to happen is he's going to tell you, have a 3 Wiseman, and the game is, are you going to be able to keep up with Pat? Like,
yeah.
I would try to get people to throw up in, like, 5 minutes. That was my game. Like, if you're in the bar, like, I'm going to try to get you to a point of no return as quick as possible to see if you are allowed to stay in the bar. Like, dude, that was...
you, like, in the party days was... Because I've been at the bar with you, and I drink at my pace. I'm not a huge drinker. You know, I enjoy it here and there. But you would drink with me enough to get me drunk. And then do that for, like, 9 other people that you knew at the bar. So you're drinking at, like, 9 different paces and just hanging on for dear life after a certain point.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's admirable, but
I think I've only had trouble getting home once or so after that.
When you like side slanted, walked up that fucking hill?
Oh, dude, like baby head first. Like, literally, I walked like an infant child. And that's my favorite one because I think that's when I was like, all right, I've hit the point of, like, this is where my age catches up with me.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do this anymore. So, it literally happened because I was trying to walk uphill. So, the leverage my body needed to carry me uphill was I had to lean forward.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, this is normal. People do this when they walk uphill. They have a little lean to them. But then at a certain point I was like, all right, now I'm walking downhill and I'm still leaning all the way forward. Like, my legs are very much behind the rest of my torso. I am fucking like at a 90-degree angle trying to walk. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I'm the weird drunken homeless dude right now. Like, I'm the fucking... That's anybody who drives past me, they're like, oh, look at that poor fucked up individual. But in my head, like, I'm what do you call it? Like, I'm mentally sober, body drunk.
Yeah.
Like, so I am so self-conscious about myself at this fucking point in time. I'm embarrassed for me. And it was the first time in a long time I had been, and I have done so much shit in the fucking past. So I'm like, I'm still not embarrassed. That's just party. I was embarrassed for myself. And at that point in time, I was like, yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, I'm not embarrassed if I don't know how to do something and I fail at it. That's to be fucking expected.
Well,
right?
You did say you felt shame, but yeah, I understand.
Well, I feel shame. I feel shame because you laughed at me. But at the end of the day, like, am I going to be like, is that going to ever, like, really put a fucking, like, a mental block in me? Am I going to fucking not be able to live my life the same way after this? No. Like, I rode the skateboard as a favor to, like, friends to try to keep up. Right.
So to make the distinction, like, the shame you felt stumbling around looking like
that was a life-changing shame. Yeah, that was like a life-changing shame. And the funny thing is I was all by myself.
That's like the shit that you get past and then you think about it while you're in the shower and you're just like, oh, I fucking hate myself, like, out of nowhere.
Well, no, because that was the night. Not only did that happen, but that was also the night that I puked. So I have my, like, if I'm drunk and I go to sleep, I have my ritual to keep myself safe so I don't pull, you know, a fucking Hendrix or some shit. Right. And I fucking whatever. So that night, not only I felt shame on the walk home, a lonely, cold shame. All right. I get home. I have work the next day kind of stuff. So this became like the first time that I puked. I fucking I bagged it up and I just passed out, and I woke up with like fucking puke next to me in a fucking plastic bag and shit, and I'm like, oh man, it's about time. Like, it's time to like really consider some changes.
Oh wait, hold on. Can I make an addendum to that? Because I'm pretty sure the story that I remember is that you puked in the bag and then hid it behind your dresser.
P-Funk concert, and that was an exception.
Okay, all right.
That was years later.
Okay.
Not years, but that was like at least a year or two later.
Right.
But that was an exception because I got backstage to P-Funk, and that's a different
you
thing.
have to go hard. You have a responsibility at that point to party.
Yeah, and I was partying, and I was having a good time, and I was pacing myself the way I should, like an old man, and I was just, the thing that messed me up was the dreaded man with the G-pen. That is the one that messed me up.
The dreaded man.
He was I'm going to say it, he was a white individual with dreads.
I know, but he's dreaded for other reasons.
He became dreaded for other reasons. So basically what ended up happening was I'm enjoying P-Funk. Actually, one of Keith's friends, like, bands was opening that show, and I was like, oh, cool. But yeah, P-Funk had come into my store and gave me some backstage passes and stuff, so I was just hanging out with them all night. And I was drinking, I was doing whatever, and I was having a good time. Like, I was like dancing with women I didn't fucking know. Like, I was doing everything as you should, party wise.
Right.
But you have to understand also, at this point, I don't smoke at all. Like, I don't fucking
marijuana.
I don't smoke marijuana at all. I can still drink. It is what it is. And I go in, have a decent amount of Jameson in my body, and I'm on the Heineken's now. I'm just trying to ride out the night.
Right.
And P-Funk comes on. I'm in the back, I'm partying, I'm doing my thing.
Flashlight.
And I'm like side stage, like with all the VIP stuff, and I just realized these stories are like so much grandeur. It's like, but anyway, I'm
did some cool
stage,
shit.
I'm like the VIP thing, and there is a dude in a wheelchair next to me, and he's having a good time.
Yeah,
I'm like, word, whatever, and I don't realize that the dude in the wheelchair has like a helper dude who's with them, or like a family member or whatever. But he's kind of partying. I'm partying next to the dude in the wheelchair. We're dancing, and to the extent that we can dance, but yeah. So basically, at a certain point, like it's halfway into P-Funk's set, and I don't want to have to go all the way out of this venue to go have a cigarette, but I'm not even thinking about it. And then suddenly, guy in like just shows up behind the guy with the wheelchair, and he passes me.
The dreaded man.
The dreaded man passes me, and at this point, I was vaping more. So, I was trying to get off like cigarettes and shit, and the dude hands me what I thought was just a vape, like straight vape,
nicotine vape.
Yeah. So I and this is also, I had never really seen or messed with like a G pen, like
right,
fucking for whatever, and I take it and I'm like, hey man, he's like, you want some? And I was like, oh dude, yes, like perfect fucking timing.
Yeah.
Like I really needed a smoke.
Godsend.
And he's like, yeah, man. And then he's joining into this like little dance thing. I am taking a hit of this pen, and I'm hitting it like it's a vape. Like, so it's like big fucking like,
right.
And I'm like, I'm not getting a lung hit from this. Gotta go harder. And I do that like 6 times, dude, and I'm like, whatever, dude, like his pen's shitty, I'm not gonna say anything to him. And then I give it back to him, and he's like, yeah man, thanks. And I'm like, yeah dude, like cool. And then we get back to partying for about 15 minutes, and then the world fucks up on me. The world starts to fuck up, and not only does the world start to fuck up, but the dreaded man gets involved, because as this goes deeper into like George Clinton and P-Funk's set, and the fucking set is getting more hyped and more hyped up.
Yeah.
And everybody's starting to get more and more into it. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize I was fucked up until the guy in the wheelchair stood the fuck up and started fucking like straight up dancing. Now this guy, if you looked at him and you saw what was going on, you were like, no, he's like, this isn't in his this isn't in the realm of possibility.
It's a miracle.
Yeah. So this is when I know for a fact I'm fucked up, because I look at him stand up and dance, and I look at the dude with the dreads, and I don't even say it to the guy who stood up. I said it to the dude with the dreads. Congratulations, dude. Like, yeah. Like, your boy can do it. Like, your boy is back. Congratulations. Like, you got your boy back. And he just nods. He's like, yeah, man.
Got your boy back. Yeah, man.
He was like, he was so nonchalant about the whole fucking thing. And
that's so fucking
like,
good.
My excitement at the time was genuine. His lack of fucking excitement brought a lot of doubt into me fairly quickly. Now, this doubt wasn't about like whether or not this guy could or could not walk. It was a doubt about how fucked up I was and what type of fucked up I was. Because I then looked back and I went, oh my God, I'm fucking stoned to shit right now. And the realization hit me like a fucking ton of bricks. And I'm like, I gotta get out. I'm done. Like, I didn't plan in my concoction making tonight to add in fucking straight, like, and it turned out it was just straight wax, like high, like this isn't fucking like weed, this is like wax. And I was like, I didn't do the math for this tonight. I did the math for whiskey and beer. I didn't do the math for fucking all of this. So I was like, I have to go. I have to get the fuck out of here. So I maneuver my way to the bar, and I'm like, I need like 3 cups of fucking Coca-Cola now. Yeah. And the bartender was like, all right. And I'm like, thank God I remembered. I'm like, oh, and I gave you my credit card to, to keep the tab open. Give it to me now. She's like, all right. Run everything. She gives me like 3 cups of fucking Coca-Cola. I go to I managed to get out to my car. I sit in my car. I just sit there. Right. And I'm like chugging on Coca-Cola, thinking this is going to be the elixir that saves my life. Like the way the way Coca-Cola was marketed when it first came out. Yeah. When it had cocaine in it and like fucking all the other shit, like anything that ails you, Coca-Cola will do it. I was drinking it like I had just bought it from that man. Like, and I was sitting in the car. I had the car on. I was just chugging this Coca-Cola, and I put on some music, and I'm gonna fucking chill. I need to fucking chill. Freaking out a little bit. Not having a good time right now. Yeah. And then sooner or later it hits me, and I hit the second wave, which is just you're fucking tired, and then you black out.
Well, you're lucky you didn't get the fucking spins.
I will hold up.
That's a recipe for disaster. Hold up. Oh, okay. All right, we're not there yet.
I wasn't lucky at all this night. I was, but I wasn't. So I'm nodding off in my car in the parking lot, and I'm not realizing that I'm nodding off in significant blocks of time, because I nod off. The parking lot is full. The show isn't over yet, but I'm nod off, and I bring my vision back up out my windshield, and a couple of times like the parking lot's still full, and then I bring it back up again. The parking lot's empty, and I'm like, oh my God.
Oh man.
I'm like, oh my God. The show is over. Everything's done. I have to get home. Yeah, that's rough. I'm still fucked up. Right. So I'm like, all right, 5 more minutes. There ain't nobody here. No one's bothering me so far. 5 more minutes. It is what it is. I look over. I don't got any more fucking Coke. I can't get any more fucking like Coca-Cola. And I'm just like, yeah, I got to preface the fact that it's Coca-Cola. I don't fuck with that other shit. But I'm like, all right, whatever. So I black out again. And when I open my fucking eyes, Vin, I kid you not, I am on Staten Island. I went from the Starland Ballroom in Jersey. You time traveled. And then when I open my eyes again, I am in Staten Island. I am down the block from your crib. I am almost... shit. And this is when I lived like all the way near the ferry. And I like that's what my consciousness comes back into play, and I'm like, I am down the block from Vin's house right now. Yeah. And I as soon as I realize that, I black out again, then I'm at home. And I'm like, oh fuck. So I managed to get myself into bed. I do my routine of, there's a very likely chance I'm going to fucking throw up. It is what it is. Like,
Right.
I need to lay down. I haven't laid down horizontally this entire time. I've been sitting in my car. As soon as I lay down horizontally, that's when I become a helicopter propeller.
Yeah.
And it's like jet fueled. Like, it's not like the slow one. So I'm doing the thing where I close my eyes, I get the spin, I switch to the other side of the bed. I close my eyes, I get the spin, I like turn in whatever.
Yeah, people say sticking your foot off the bed helps with that.
I do. I have so many different things. For a while, I would just run the shower like slightly cold for a little bit.
That's good. Nice
And
little
just-
cold shower.
Yeah, and I just sit for a while.
Yeah.
But like at this point in time, like I had to be at a meeting the next day. So I wasn't planning for all this shit to happen. I had to be at a meeting over at the store and
Right.
do all this other stuff the next day. But I grabbed my puke bag and I put it where it needs to be. And that night I fucking puke in that bag. I wake up still sweating because I only got like maybe 3 hours of sleep, if anything. And I wake up and I'm looking around and I'm like, all right, I puked. Where the fuck is it? Like, where did I puke? I can't find it for the life of me. And at a certain point, I'm just like, I have to go to work. So I just say, fuck it, I'll find it later. I go to work. I show up to work for this meeting and my boss looks at me and I'm like still sweating. And it was one of those things where like, I tried to wipe myself down before going.
Yeah, so you don't smell like a homeless guy.
Dude, when I tell you, when I walked in and like my boss looked at me, as soon as I went through the door, he was standing at least 20 feet away from me and goes, no, the first thing he says is, are you all right? Because apparently I did not look all right. And I'm like, yeah, man, it is what it is. Like P-Funk last night, it was P-Funk.
Right. And they were like, I get it.
And he's like, oh, I get it. And then he like gets a little bit closer and he's like, oh, fuck, Pat. Like, you are literally like melting out everything you put in your body. And I'm like, oh, fuck, dude. Like, I'm sorry. And I was like, do you mind, like, just give me, if you want, just give me a little bit of time. I'll wash up. So I go to like get some like baby wipes and shit and like try to fucking clean myself off at work.
Right.
But lo and behold, after all that shit, I get back home and I'm like, I step in the door with a fucking mission. I must find the puke.
Yeah, that's.
Like,
I was gonna say that's not a good decision to be like, I'll deal with this later.
I had no fucking option. It was just like, dude, I
Should have
don't
brought it with you.
I don't know.
Just take it
Well, I
into
couldn't
work.
fucking find it. I couldn't find it. So the way my room was set up was I had my bed and like long ways across the wall, and then like on the other wall was my TV on this big dresser and all this other shit. But I'm like searching everywhere. I'm tearing this room the fuck apart. And finally I just start moving furniture. And as I start moving furniture, I start having those little fucking flashbacks of like shit that you've done. And then it was one of those things like I
Memento?
moved the dresser where my TV is on, and there it is. Behind this dresser, which is not light, by the way,
Right.
is my bag of puke. And I'm just like, oh my God. And then like, how you have those little fucking like flip book of what I puked, felt great shame, and went to work like burying it like some sort of little like badger. Like I fucking like just I was so ashamed of myself that I had to hide it in that moment. Like get it out of here.
Right.
It has
Yeah,
to
get
be
this
gone.
away
And it
from me.
wasn't even like, here's how you know you're fucked up, because it wasn't a logical like, oh, I need to go throw this out in the trash. It's like, no, hide it, bury it.
Yeah.
Like
No one needs to know
leave it
about
for
this.
the next generation. Only then will they know my great shame.
No one needs to know
But yeah,
about
I
these
found it
crimes.
behind this fucking gigantic dresser, and like that was another one where it's just like it just hit you again, like you're out of the game, dude. Like you can't do this. And then I got mad at myself. I'm like, no, that wasn't my fault. It was the man with the dreads who tricked me into smoking an insane amount of fucking wax that night. Because when you hand somebody something, you don't just go, hey stranger, want some of this? And then I realized how fucking much of an asshole I am, and how much I was the kid next to the guy with the candy van that night.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you want some candy? And I jumped in the van. I jumped in the van like a fucking like professional diver.
Yeah,
And
sure
he
did.
fucking, yeah, he got me. And I still can't get over the fact that man in the wheelchair stood the fuck up and danced. And I don't know if that was really real or not. But
That was a miracle that
It
George
was
Clinton
a fucking
performed.
miracle. And George Clinton did that. Now, mind you, at that same night, as I'm getting fucked up too, like, George Clinton's guitar player at the time I think he was like the only person I hadn't met, and he was on stage playing guitar, and I'm sitting there next to the VIP thing, and I'm dancing with, I guess who the lady I was dancing with could have been his girlfriend, could not have been his girlfriend, I don't fucking know. But he leans over while playing and just goes, "Who the fuck are you?" Like, while he's playing. And I kind of like, I'm like,
fucking G.
Here's the funny part. My response to him would have pissed anybody off. And I looked at him, then I'm like, dude, I'm just having fun. That was my response to, "Who the fuck are you?" "I'm just having fun."
Yeah.
It's a long name.
Hey, man.
Whatever. And then he goes, no, what are you doing here? And like, he's still playing. Like, for having a fucking very intense interrogation with me. He's like, "No, what are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Oh."
Chilling.
And then it snapped, and I'm just like, "Oh, I'm the guy who sold you all your new shit. Like, for the stage. I'm the guy who sold you all of that new equipment." And he like he stops for a second, and he's like, "I'm gonna need to talk to you after the show." And like, fucking, like, all right, dude. He didn't get to talk to me after the show because of what happened, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
See, man,
that's my George Clinton story.
yeah, you got cool stories about getting fucked up at P-Funk concerts, and then I got shit like, I mean, I get that fucked up, but it's in very lame environments. I went into the woods one time. I smoked a 20 bag of weed, which was, I mean, that's how I'm dating myself by even saying that it was a 20 bag of weed, because I don't even think anybody sells them shits anymore. And I had two 22s of Heineken. So I drank one of them after smoking this bag of weed. And then I went into the woods to smoke another bag of weed whilst drinking the second 22 of Heineken. And all of a sudden, I'm halfway through smoking and drinking. And then I look to my friends who were there. I think my sister was there too. And I say, "Wait, hold on." As I'm teetering, and then I fall down like a fucking, like, timber. And I fucking hit the dirt. And then I'm laying on my back. And I was still like somewhat conscious. But I don't remember this. They all told me this. My body like heaved. Like I went like, "Ha!" And fucking.
No, that's actually how you throw up. Like, I've been around you when you do it. You do heave. Like, you
Oh yeah,
put
no,
a lot of effort into getting things from the bottom to the top.
Oh, it's painful what I do. Yeah, it comes from the toes. But yeah, so they saw me do that, and my sister was there. She's a medical professional. She fucking rolled my ass over to make sure that I didn't die, and then I started yakking. But see, there was no fun concert in there. I didn't witness any miracles. There was nothing cool going on. I got a little too fucked up and passed out, and I don't even know what did it, because that's like some bitch made shit, like a 20 bag of weed and then a 22 and then half and half of the others. Fuck out of here, man.
What ends up happening though is what happens if you don't think that's an extraordinary story is what happens around you after it happens, though.
I know. See, that's why I love being the witness to all this other shit that my friends do. I'm the friend that watches. I'm the watcher.
When I had to carry Josh through the woods.
Beautiful.
When we were at Keith's birthday. No, it was.
Oh no, that was another one of my bad nights.
Yeah, that was another one.
That was
but
Cinco
that's
de
everything
Mayo.
that happened around you. There were so many stories that happened that night.
I was having a great time until I smoked that fucking joint. I was drunk. I was doing tequila shots with people from fucking elementary school. I was dancing and shit, playing beer pong, crushing the game. I was kicking it to bitches, and then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go hit this joint real quick. And I was sitting on the fucking thing, and then I hit it, and by the time I got down from sitting on the thing, I was like, this is the end. And fucking everything started waving and spinning and doing whatever the fuck else. And I just remember you coming to my side, grabbing my arm, and starting to like make way. And then Keith came, and everybody's fucking shithoused at this point because it's so late in the night.
We put a dark plastic bag over your head like we were kidnapping you.
Yeah, y'all guys put a bag over my head like that wedding ceremony where they have to like kidnap the bride. That was what happened. And somebody like shoved me in the bathroom. And then I just started yakking. And there's still a picture to this day, I think on your Facebook, of me praying to the porcelain god with my ass crack showing, sweat on the small of my back. Fucking, it was a scene.
Yeah, that was brutal, dude. And
The best part is I was wearing a fucking Mark Echo shirt. So you, again, dating the fucking scenario.
Oh, man. All right, well.
Yeah, we're going
this
a little
has
long
been
here.
a long one of many stories in the life of. What was the moral of this one? I think is this party? Is this alcoholism? What is this?
Yeah, I guess.
Did we learn anything today other than the fact that we can't do what we used to do?
I think that's the biggest takeaway from all of this. But I would also say don't party too hard. Leave whenever the fuck you want to. And if your friend falls and then calls your name, help them.
Party with the right people.
Party with the right people. Always.
Party with the right people.
And have more friends
always,
like us. Because we are awesome.
Don't party alone unless you're a professional. And make sure you're surrounded by the right people. Luckily for us, I think we were usually pretty much all around good people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I gotta say is I made good choices with the people that I wanted to be around when I did that dumb shit.
Oh, dude, before we go, do you remember when Mike got twisted and I had to drive him? And he kept trying to puke out of my window.
What, when he was driving on the sidewalk and shit?
No.
God
this
damn.
was the last one I'll do. The really quick one.
All right.
He got super drunk. I think you were in the car with me because we ended up at your house. And he was trying to puke out my window and he was crying about how much he hated like his stepdad and stuff the entire time.
Right.
And finally, like he got to the point where he was just I wasn't wasted, but at the same time, like I was sober enough to be annoyed by this sad drunk man.
Yeah.
And basically the entire time he's like complaining about his stepdad, and then he's like crying about it, and then he's like, I'm gonna puke, and I'm like, you don't fucking puke in my car, dude, you don't do this. So finally I get him to your house, and like I just open the door and let the dude fall out, and he just starts rolling around in the grass, like throwing a temper tantrum.
Oh, I know the mic you're talking about. Yeah. Holy cow. Yeah, he was a good dude. He was funny. I remember he got drunk on Sparks that night or something like that.
Oh, dude, yeah, it was all Sparks. And then, so we got him there, and then I had to take him home afterwards. So I get him to his house, and he lived with his mother at the time. And it's the most messed up way to fucking drop somebody off at their house when they're this messed up or whatever. But like,
didn't you like lean him on his door like a piece
I
of lumber?
leaned him on his own like front door. And then I'm like trying to get this drunk dude to tell me like the code to open the door. Like, yo,
right.
Tell me the code to get you into your house, dude. Tell me the code. And he's like so fucked up. Like he can't comprehend numbers or anything else. He's just having like an emotional breakdown.
Right.
And I'm like, bro, like you got to tell me how to get into the house. And finally, I just started knocking on the door. And his mom opens the door. Now, I had totally forgotten that the door opens inside to the house, so I have her son leaning against the front door, and she opens the door, and he just collapses in like through her, and it's one of those moments where I'm like, "Here's your son, bye."
Yeah.
And all you hear as I'm like running away from the situation is him go, "Hey, mom." The most like weird teenager like drinking moment in earth. He's like, "Hey, mom."
That's so fucking good.
And like
man.
all she saw was like his friend just running, like trying to get away from that situation. His mom was cool as hell though, man. She was fucking like, she ran into me a little bit after that and was like, she would like cook me food and shit. She was fucking awesome.
Yeah. See, again,
Yeah.
this is more proof why you need to party around the right people and have friends like us.
Yeah. No, we were awesome friends to people. Anyway, yeah. So
That's the moral.
this whole episode is about being responsible with your life. Sooner or later.
Be a good friend. Be a good teammate.
This is how we grow. Everybody does stupid. I would never tell anybody not to do stupid stuff.
Right. Do stupid stuff, but help
But do
people
it around good people.
and help people who don't know what they're getting into.
Yes, sir. Don't let people drink like fucking 12-pack of Sparks
Right.
and have emotional breakdowns with you.
And if you do, gently deliver them to their mother.
Yes, gently. Not the way I did it. Tonight's final thoughts. The smartest thing you can ever do is bring a large group of females to a strip club with you. You'll be the most popular guy in the room. Trust me.
Thank you for joining us. Good night.
Night. That was real advice.
What a beautiful fucking piece of music.